Half of all private sector hiring in America comes from small businesses, and they are cracking under the weight of high debt and even higher costs. Mom and pop bankruptcies are surging to a new record. Over 2,200 have filed under the subchapter, is it V or 5? I don't even know. Rules this year, up 8% compared to 2024. Okay, so Dagan, explain. This is like a relatively new way to declare bankruptcy. It came about in 2020. Is it representative of trouble among small businesses or not? What do you think?
No, it's not. And so I'm going to take issue with the entire framing of this segment.
Okay.
Take that, Brian.
I got up at 3 in the morning to write this segment.
It's not.
I didn't even eat breakfast.
Record bankruptcies! No.
It's an easy get out of jail card.
Yes, okay. So it's only been around for 5 years.
4, actually.
4. Marcus. That's Marcus in the background.
Well, I guess he knows something about it too. You can write the segment next time.
It is a category, by definition, that made it easier to go bankrupt. Marcus is nodding. Yes, correct. So why wouldn't this number go up if people took advantage of it, who it enabled people to go bankrupt easier? So by the very logic, it would go up because of the creation of this category. There's not enough data there even to say anything. It's like, yeah, record high, even though this category's only been in existence for 4 years.
All right, hold on.
This is not evidence of anything.
All right, let me try to strengthen the case of this segment a little bit. I'll just add this in, all right? Chapter 13, bankruptcies, consumer bankruptcy cases, are up compared to recent years. So far, more than 180,000 cases have been filed this year, nearly 5% more than the first 11 months of last year, Marcus. So maybe the whole thing Dagan was talking about is meaningless, but you got some consumer...
Well, nothing she says is meaningless. I'll start with that.
Well, she proved me meaningless, but you now have to deal with this new data.
We need to acknowledge that high interest rates and tariffs have affected small businesses. Hard stop. We need to acknowledge that. We also need to acknowledge that this subchapter 5 is an easy, quick, less expensive, keep ownership of your entire business, flush the toilet, and move on process. And typically, when a company files bankruptcy, its creditors end up owning the business. In a subchapter 5, the small businesses keep ownership. So there is trouble in small business land around high interest rates and tariffs. That's a fact. And when those small businesses are dealing with higher prices, elasticity is an issue for consumers, they go other places.
So that was the problem for me as I was trying to understand what this subchapter 5 was all about. The fact that the debtor, the person who's filing, that owns the business, obviously can't pay its bills, is now in ownership or retains
everything.
The business. That's advantageous for you to go file bankruptcy when things aren't working out. But doesn't that defeat the whole purpose of the creditors being able to lay claim to the business? So to me, this is just like a get out of jail free card. I made some bad decisions. I didn't run my business well. But if people can't count on, the creditors can't count on the fact that they will retain ownership of some asset, whatever is left, you get to keep it. That's a serious problem.
It's going to change the dynamics of lending to small businesses and selling to small businesses because it's so easy to flush the toilet.
You're going to be less likely to want to lend.
Of course. Why would you?
You're going to be less likely because you know that
you can't get your money back.
You're not going to get it.
Okay,
but
so
would you argue that it actually makes it harder for the big businesses to qualify for this, right? I think they lowered the debt limit to $3 million.
Yeah,
right.
That's right.
So in this, I guess maybe I would take the other side of the argument. Only $3 million. I don't want the bank if that really is like a mom or a dad starting a business, I do want them to be able to get a loan, but I also don't want them.
But like, if you don't pay your car loan or whatever, the bank will come repossess the car.
Every American deserves to have the opportunity to start a business. They need a good business plan. They need a practical plan. If the business doesn't work, it shouldn't destroy people, but you shouldn't be able to flush the toilet. When you are a business owner, you make a commitment. You sign a lease, you buy product, you have an obligation to pay your bills. I understand that there are moments in time where people are unable to. And we have a system that allows for that. But it shouldn't be so easy. And if I do it, there should be some consequence.
It sounds like bailout-ish.
But the piece that's
almost.
missing, there's a piece missing. The small business owner has to sign and agree to a repayment plan. It isn't that they flush the toilet and the debt is gone. They flush the toilet and they restructure their obligations over a period of time that the court and them believe they can pay it back.
And by the way, it's worth noting that this subchapter 5 way of filing for bankruptcy was introduced in 2020.
During COVID.
Right.
Right. So it's one of
It made sense in that moment.
I know, but it was one of the abominations
But also,
of the COVID era.
It's what we talk about. I can spend $200,000 to go to college and I can study basket weaving and I won't get a job when I graduate because that's not a functioning skill, although it might be for some people, but for most people, probably not. There are consequences to decisions that you make. So if you start a small business, even if it's of the sub $3 million level, and you don't put together a decent business plan to, somewhat make that business work, even though some will struggle anyway, it gives people this notion that there's a safety net.
A do-over.
That's what I don't like about it.
From an inauspicious beginning of this conversation, that turned out pretty well, I would say.
Most important part of our
Don't
economy
push your
in
luck,
26 will be how the health of small businesses will determine the health of 26.